he has published it so far. Understanding the basic principles of Islam, Can a Bridge Build Itself, Essays on Belief and Moral Values, Stars of Prophet, Sahabat, Stars of Prophet, and people of the Light, and Natural Selection, Fact or Fiction. So these are the books he has published, and then there are some magazines like Charlayan and Umid, Fountain, and Dialogue, Asia Pacific magazines. And so he also continuing his publishes on theology. Yeah, Dr. Omer, welcome, and the stage is yours, please.
Hello, thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. Happy to be here. I think my voice is coming clear. Yeah, the sound is okay.
Yeah, it's clear. It's clear.
Okay, that's good. So it's good to see you all the way from Australia. I spoke to Indonesia before. It was mashallah. You know, I really enjoyed it. It was really good. And again, thank you for inviting me again. Well, I was told that I should focus on a topic. This was a topic that was decided, whether it's science and belief, that they go together. You know, can a person be a believer and at the same time believe in science as well? I think the reason that these sort of questions are emerging these days, one of the reasons perhaps, there is an assumption that some people think that science contradicts God, you know, or Islam contradicts God. In fact, you know, if this is the question, the main question, I can say this, that when we talk about religion, in particular Islam, I can tell you that there is no contradiction at all. In fact, we can say that they go hand in hand, science and religion, in regards to Islam, they go hand in hand. And we can give many examples to this. Perhaps maybe I can cite some examples here to begin with. If we look at Islamic history, although unfortunately, you know, the world of Islam is not where it should be today. But if we look at Islam historically, you will see that Muslim scholars throughout history have contributed to the science and development of science quite significantly. And I can give you some examples which you'll be quite surprised with. For example, Al-Kindi, famous Al-Kindi. He lived in the 9th century and he was a philosopher, both a scholar and a philosopher, a Muslim scholar. And he came up with the argument of temporal regress. What that means is that he came up with the argument that the worldly things, the universe, could not be infinite. He actually put forward a philosophical argument which is used today by modern contemporary philosophers. And his argument was it's impossible to have an actual infinite because he gave this example. He drew two circles and he said, let us assume both of these circles are infinite. They represent, you know, eternity, infinity. And he said, if you take some material out of one of these circles and include it into the other one, the other circle, the size would increase and the size of the other circle would decrease. Whereas infinity should not increase or decrease because it's infinite. It doesn't have levels and boundaries anyway. And he is also the fashioner or inventor of the argument, as I said, of temporal regress. And temporal regress means that matter in the universe could not go away, you know, all the way back to infinity. You know, it had to have a beginning. It cannot be, you know, beginningless. And he argued that, and there are very valid arguments. And this person lived like 1,100 years ago, think about it. And he was a very famous scientist, philosopher, Al-Kindi. And he said, for example, if matter was infinite in the past and time was infinite in the past, he said you would never be able to go back to beginning. If this is unachievable, which means that you shouldn't be at the present as well. You shouldn't have come from there to this position today as well. And he has very good philosophical arguments. And then in his argument, he says the universe had a beginning. Just think about it. This is 1,100 years ago. He said universe had a beginning, and everything that has a beginning must have an explanation of its beginning or existence, and therefore must have a cause. Because in physics, as you know, nothing can exist without a cause. We have this principle, fundamental principle in physics. It's called causality or causation, where every effect is presented by a cause. So for something to result in an act, and in an effect, it has to have a cause. And that's how the physics works. And when you look at the universe, you will see that cause and effect, cause and effect. When you go back, you come to a point where the entire universe had a beginning. And in order to explain this beginning from a philosophical or physical perspective, you need a creator. And this was put forward by Al-Kindi. And in regards to science and belief, religion, I can tell you that Islam always supported science throughout history. Another example that I can cite is Ibn Musa al-Khawarizmi. And this person lived in 9th century as well. That's 1,100 years ago, where, technology, there was no technology when you think about it. But if you Google this person, Ibn Musa al-Khawarizmi, you will see that he is regarded or considered as the father of algebra. The mathematical algebra that we use today. Without algebra, we could not even send a rocket to space. Imagine that. And this person was the father of algebra. He invented algebra. In fact, he has a book called Kitab al-Jabir. That's where the term algebra comes from, al-Jabir. So it is an Arabic term anyway. And you can see these, amazing scholars 1,100 years ago established the foundations of modern science. Another person that I can mention here is al-Zahrawi. And this person was specialist in medicine, in particular in surgery. And he lived in the 10th century as well. So that is another 1,000 years before our time, isn't it? And if you Google this person too, remember his name, al-Zahrawi, you will see that the term they use for him is father of surgery. Very interesting, father of surgery. He invented over 200 surgical tools. And you know that some of these surgical tools that he invented are still used in modern medicine. Some of them are still used today. Al-Zahrawi. And he was the first person to perform a surgery called thyroidectomy. It is a surgery on your thyroids that you have in your throat. Very interesting, because if you look up thyroidectomy, you will see that even today with this modern science and technology, they say that it is a very complex surgery and very risky as well. But think about a person 1,000 years ago performing thyroidectomy. It's amazing. And we can look up other things such as, in the 10th century, again, during the Abbasid era of Islam in history, you will come across your surgeons like al-Zahrawi actually performing, and this was quite amazing for me when I found out about this. They were performing cataract operation on the eye, cataract. You know how technical it is? Like these days, they have all this machinery, they make your eyes much bigger, so that it's very sensitive. But they actually performed cataract operation 1,000 years ago, Muslim scientists, Muslim scholars. And the amazing thing about Muslim scholars they were both scientists and scholars of religion at the same time, most of them. So who can argue that religion contradicts with science? They kept it going together, hand in hand. They were experts in, for example, tafsir, hadith, all of these studies, but at the same time, when you look at their lives, they were polymaths, they were mathematicians. One person, it's not just specific field, polymath, mathematician, astronomer, chemist, biologist. They were specialized in many different fields as well. Unique people. As I said, cataract surgery, I know because I've seen one. It is amazing. They cut a very fine line, on top of your eye where the iris is, and they suck out your the lens in your iris. And then what they do is they replace it with a thing, another made-up, human-made thing, artificial lens. Now, how did they do this? I can't still fathom it, 1,000 years ago. Another person that I like to maybe give cite as an example is Abbas ibn Firnas. And he lived during the Andalusian era, the Umayyads, 9th century. You know that he was the first man to actually fly using wings. He made this wing, a mechanical wing, and he was the first person to actually fly. He flew, a few hundred meters, and then he fell. He actually broke his back. He was, ill for a while, but he was the first man to attempt it, and it worked. He actually flew. Amazing. Abbas ibn Firnas, remember his name as well. And maybe one last person that I can mention in regards to this, there are so many of them. If you investigate and study this, you will see, do the research, you will see amazing people who actually established the foundations of science, modern science. And another person I like to maybe mention before I continue is Abdurrahman as-Sufi. Again, a 10th century astronomer during the time of Khalifa al-Ma'mun in the Abbasid era. This person was Persian, Abdurrahman as-Sufi. He actually, printed, or not, should I say printed, but wrote or designed a map of the heavens. And it was called Almanac, the Almanac of Abdurrahman as-Sufi. And he named many stars in the sky. And today's astronomy still uses these names. You can look it up and you will see that. I'll give you some of the names, very famous, such as Deneb, the star. These are star names, okay? Supergiants. Deneb, Sirius, for example, Antares, Betelgeuse. All of these star names were given by Abdurrahman Sufi over 1,000 years ago, and modern astronomers still use these names today. And in fact, at the time of Khalifa al-Ma'mun, the world's first observatory was built. So they can look at the stars in the sky and calculate their measurements. And Muslims also invented a tool called astrolabe. It was a handheld tool. They used to follow the movements of the thing, the stars and we can say the planets. It's very interesting when you look at it historically, but all of these examples that I am citing here, I'm doing it for the reason to, establish that science and Islam goes hand in hand. It has always been like that. In fact, all of these scholars were, as I said, they're Muslim scholars, but at the same time, they were scientists. And if religion did not encourage science, why would they go to these extremes and establish all of these laws of and be the forerunners of science as well? And Where do you think they got their encouragement from? I think this is one of the main arguments as well. Well, you can open the Quran, and I think all of you knows now what the first verse to be revealed from the Quran was, isn't it? Ikra, read. This was the first, this is amazing, the first verse revealed to our Prophet, beloved Prophet, والسلام, read. See, it's not pray, it is not worship, it is not say this, but it's read. Why was it read? We should not understand the term read as just reading, from a book. What it means is study, educate yourself, improve, develop yourself. And this is one of the main reasons why human beings were created in this world. If you look at this world, just our own planet, imagine this. They say there are more than 8 million different species living on Earth. From the fish, the bacteria, the worms, the fish, the birds, mammals on Earth. You can have a look at through all these different life forms. There are 8 million different of them, species on Earth. But amazingly, only human beings, which is us, were given this unique brain structure. It is 1.5 kilograms of brain, so that we can think, identify, explore, learn about things. This capacity was not given to other living beings, only to human beings. And the main reason for that was the Quran answers the question and says, read, learn, educate, improve yourself. Maybe we can say the purpose here, Allahu Alam, of course, Allah knows the real purpose, but maybe we can say that the real purpose here was that Allah the Almighty created this universe. It's amazing universe. The diameter of the universe today, according to astronomers, is 93 billion light years. Can you imagine that? 93 billion light years. Only in our galaxy, we live in the Milky Way galaxy, as you know, they say that there are more than 200 billion stars just in our galaxy. And they say that perhaps there may be about 400 billion galaxies in the universe. It is an amazing universe that we live in. But the designer, the creator of the universe, which we believe is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, created the universe for the purpose that he displays his art, his masterful art for us. Or some scholars refer to the universe as the Kitab-i Kainat Kabir, which means the great book of the universe. Why is this book was offered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why was it written? So that we can understand it, so that we can explore it, so that we can study it. And that is why the Quran specifically begins with the term read, study. Because as we study, as we explore, what we will find out is every sciences in the universe will guide us towards our Creator, the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we will recognize the artist, the creator of the universe. This is the main objective here. Now, in regards to, again, since we are focusing on science and does it contradict religion or does it go hand in hand with religion? Well, if you look at some other religion, maybe because of their misinterpretations, or maybe some people took some of the verses, literally, like, for example, in Christianity, there is a contradiction with science. And this is why many people have sort of apostatized from Christianity in the Western world. Perhaps one of the reasons were, they did not know how to interpret the Bible, because there were certain, verses in the Bible, such as, the universe or the world has been around for 7,000 years. And most of the Christian scholars took this literally. Whereas today, these days, we know scientifically that only our own Earth has been around for 4.6 billion years. And they insisted on this narrative of their Bible and they did not want to interpret it. They took it literally, and this caused, unfortunately, a gap between science and religion. But we do not see this contradiction with Islam. In fact, whatever verse we study, if it's a reference to the science in the Quran, you will see a direct connection, or you will see some verses which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to Prophet Muhammad والسلام, 1,400 years ago. That's 14 centuries, when there was no talk of technology. And when we look at some of these verses, scientists are just beginning to understand their meanings. And their discoveries actually verifying these verses. Maybe I should just cite a couple of examples from there as well for your understanding. One amazing verse that I always think about is in Surah Dhariyat, verse 47. You can check it up if you like. All the students there can check it up themselves as well. Surah Dhariyat, verse 47. In this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we have created the universe and we are the one who is expanding it. And he uses this very interesting term. He does not say, I've created the universe and I've expanded it. It's finished. He says, I am the one who's expanding it. So he uses a present term, or expands it. And it's interestingly that from this verse, we understand that our universe is expanding. It's very clear. There's no need even interpretation, because Allah says, I'm the one who's expanding it. Now, do you know that when we found out that the universe is expanding? Not long ago. In 1929, when Edwin Hubble, famous astronomer, delivered a paper in a university because of his observations, because he saw in his observations of the universe that all galaxies were moving away from each other. No matter which part of the night sky he pointed his telescope, he saw that the galaxies were moving away. The further the galaxy was, the faster it was moving away from us. So their velocities, their speeds were proportional to their distances. And today we call this Hubble constant. And then he delivered the paper and he said, our galaxy, the Milky Way, is not the entire universe. There are other galaxies out there, and all the galaxies are moving away from each other. And this means that the universe is expanding. So in a way, it is like inflating like a balloon, our universe. And for the students, maybe they can use this example, or they can test it themselves as well. This will give you an idea about how the universe is expanding. If you get a balloon, okay, and get a pen and make dots on the balloon, on the surface of the balloon, various dots all over the surface. And let us say all of these dots are representing a galaxy in the night sky. And if you start to blow up this balloon, as it's being inflated, you will see that the distances between the dots will start to increase as well. And this is how our universe is expanding. And as I said, we found out about this only about 90 years ago, whereas the Quran already, verified this 1,400 years ago in a verse very clearly. Maybe couple of more examples which you can take notes, and inshallah you can check them yourself as well. Okay. Another one is Surah Anbiya, verse 33. In this verse, the Quran says all heavenly bodies are in an orbit swimming in space. All heavenly bodies are in an orbit swimming in space. So when did we find about, orbits of the planets, stars? Not long ago. But the Quran had established this many, many, many years ago, didn't it? Maybe one last verse that I can cite here inshallah, for you guys to look it up and check the references as well, is Surah Hadid, verse 25. And you will find this quite amazing. And the Quran in Surah Hadith, verse 25 says, and we sent down the iron, the steel iron. This is amazing. You know why it's so amazing? Because all the elements we find on earth, all the minerals we find on earth, we can dig them up and you will find them underneath the earth. Very interestingly, in many parts of the Quran, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks to us about all the blessings he has sent to us, for example, he says, you can take out valuable things from the sea, oceans, food from the oceans. You can dig up mineral from under the ground. But when it comes to, very interestingly, when it comes to iron, the Quran says we have sent it down. Where did iron come from? Sent it down. That's what the Quran says. Now, we did not know before how iron is produced because we can dig it from the ground on earth. But now we know that the atomic element, iron, can only be produced in supernova explosions. That is when a star, runs through its life span, it becomes inflated, and then it explodes. It's called supernova explosion. And iron can only be produced in this environment. No other environment can produce iron. So literally, we can see that science tells us iron was brought down from the sky to earth. It wasn't produced on earth. And the Quran mentions this 1400 years ago. So it means that we can see from the Quranic verses that science and religion, specifically Islam, go hand in hand. In fact, they contribute to each other because everything that we find in the Quran can be verified with scientific discoveries and findings. Now, perhaps, as we said, from this point on, we can move to atheism and concepts like theism as well. Atheism and theism. As you know, atheists do not believe in God. They think that the universe just came into existence by chance. And they put this argument forward that, science and religion are in conflict. They are like enemies. In fact, I can tell you that it is the opposite. Science and religion work together, whereas atheism and science conflict. And this can be very easily proven as well, because the argument that they usually put forward is this: God's existence cannot be proven scientifically. This is their argument, okay? God's existence cannot be proven scientifically. However, if they're referring to something that you do in a laboratory through experimentation, then that argument would be correct, because how can you test God the Almighty, Allah the Almighty, who created the universe, in a lab? It's impossible. But their argument is lacking, because the full argument should be like this: you cannot prove or disprove the existence of God scientifically. In fact, I can tell you this: if we use theoretical science, if we use philosophy, if we use theology, we can provide thousands of arguments or evidences for the existence of God. We can provide thousands of them. But you can note this down somewhere, and this is a guaranteed, you can verify this as well. God's, they cannot provide any argument, not even one, as an evidence to disprove God. What that means is atheism is based on denial. It is not based on scientific verification. It is based on denial. They just do not want to accept God. Why? Because if they accept God, what will follow is responsibility. Because if you believe in God, then you become a responsible person. Yeah. Then you have certain obligations, like you have to pray, you have to fast, you have to give zakat. They don't want all of these obligations. They don't want to be responsible. And that is the reason why they denied God. That is why they say we don't believe. See, in actual fact, they're not really saying God doesn't exist. They're actually saying we don't accept, we don't believe. But I can give you another argument that, why would anyone try to disprove something that doesn't exist anyway? Why would you go out of your way and try to disprove God if it doesn't exist anyway? We don't make up names, for example, of something that doesn't exist, and then we don't say, oh, this doesn't exist, we don't believe. Yeah. So when they deny, they are actually denying something that exists. They just don't want to accept it. The reality is 6.5 billion people on earth believe in God. Whether they believe in the right form of God, we say it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they may have all different names for God, but they all believe in that higher power because the universe indicates to God. You have no other option. When you think about it, according to today's physics, today's science, if you look at, how they built the models of our universe we live in, they go back to a time which is 13.8 billion years ago when the universe began. And when they come to a certain point back in time in the universe, physicists, scientists, they say that we cannot take another step back from this point because everything ceases to exist. Because if you go beyond 13.8 billion years, there is no matter anymore. There is no space anymore. Yeah? There is no time anymore. Time doesn't exist too. So how could something pop into existence from nothing? See, this is scientifically impossible. It is impossible for something to pop into existence from nothing. But when we look at the universe's history, we see that this happened. This actually happened. The universe came into existence out of nothing. Well, if this is the reality, then we need to look for the cause. What caused it? How did it come into existence? And scientific perspective, we either have to accept God, all right, or replace it with something else. And I can tell you, there is no alternative at the moment from a scientific perspective. They cannot put anything else in place of God, the creator. Even if they did, then we would ask the next question, what created that thing? Who made the universe? Then the questioning would continue. It would go in we can say, chain reaction to a point where we would have to stop philosophically and say, a creator must have made all of these things, but he does not need to be created himself. So I can tell you that from a scientific perspective, from a philosophical perspective, that a creator is needed for the universe's existence. Another example, maybe for you to keep aside and remember it, is that when we study our universe, you know what we see in our universe? We see that everything is dependable on something else. We call this contingency. Everything, even the stars, for the stars to exist, they depend on something else. Nuclear reactions, at the core of the star, we have the fusion, nuclear fusion. They need something else to exist. If you look at yourselves as human beings, we are contingent as well. We need something other than ourselves to continue existing. And I can count a million different things. Yeah, we need air, we need sun, we need water, yeah, we need our cells, we need all the elements, we need food, sustenance. You can count a million things. Otherwise, we won't exist, which means that we are dependable. And if you investigate the universe, everything in the universe is dependable on something else. Everything. The entire universe itself is dependable. Well, dependable also means something else. It means that they don't make the decision to come into existence. Like for yourself, think about yourself. Before you came to this world and existed, did you make any decisions? You know, did you say, you know, I'm going to be created soon. I'm going to arrive to this world soon. You know, I want to have like my height should be about 2 meters. I like to have this color eyes. I like to be in this build. You know, my hair should be like this. Did we have any choice in this? No. Which means that we are dependable. Someone else is making all these decisions. And the entire universe is like that. It's all dependable. And if something is dependable, it means it is in need of something which is not dependable. And that something's existence should be necessary. And we call this Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is wajibil wujud. Allah has to exist for the universe to exist. Otherwise, as I said, everything in the universe is just probable. You know, we can exist or not exist. It is not necessary, but Allah's existence is necessary. And this is an argument for God as well. And we can, you know, produce arguments like this, you know, many of them. However, as I said before, people who do not believe in God, they cannot produce one argument to disprove God. Atheists, you know what they do usually? They just attack religion and they come up with questions. If God existed, why is it like this? Or why is it written like this in the Quran? Why does religion do this? They try to attack religion to disprove God, but that doesn't work. You have to prove with scientific evidence, with philosophical evidence that God doesn't exist. And there is not even one evidence they can put forward. It is impossible. It is impossible to disprove God, but it is possible to prove him. This is very important. And that is why I say, you know, atheists, they don't have any verification, any scientific verification, and their beliefs are completely based on denial. And then there is another group, as you know, which is deism. And what do deists believe? They say that, look, the universe is too perfect. Everything is functioning perfectly. It came from somewhere. It could not have existed just by itself. They say there must be a creator. There must be a God. But their argument, the deist argument, is this. God created the universe. He established certain laws, chemical, physical laws in the universe, and the universe is functioning by itself. The God does not interfere. He does not intervene. Therefore, there is no religion, there is no life after death. These things do not exist. This is the deist view. Unlike the atheists, they do accept God, but they don't believe the rest. Now, deism is quite illogical too. There is no logic to it as well. Because I'll give you a very simple example to prove this, okay? Let us say you became a genius in technology. Think about yourself, okay? You became a genius in technology and you built this robot. And this robot is like AI system, okay? When you activate it, you spend a lot of money and build this technological, amazing robot. And when you activate the robot, it will open its eyes and it will start learning itself. It will look around, it will say, this is the sun, this is the star. It will actually learn. It has this special chip. And it will advance itself like a baby, you know, like a human baby learning. And you built this robot, all right? You spend all this money and time. And then before you activate the robot, you put it in a helicopter and you took it all the way to Antarctica, in the middle of all those ice, you put it in the middle of Antarctica and you just left it there and you took off. And from a distance, you just activated it. And you left it and you said, it can do whatever it likes. Who would do this in the world? Would anyone do this? If you made something, you would want that thing to know you, yeah? Or if you made an art, for example, a beautiful, painting, you would other people to look at it and recognize you, wouldn't you? Everyone would want this. Why would Allah create human beings and then does not intervene anymore? That does not interfere anymore. And moreover, if you believe that Allah is the most merciful, most compassionate, why would he just create you on earth, let you live for a very short time, and then kill you and throw you under the ground to rot away and never to exist again? Would this be a merciful God? Would this be a compassionate Allah like that? No, obviously not. So deism does not make any sense from that perspective as well. Because Allah has created us for a reason, for a purpose, so that we can recognize him. That is why, for example, people write songs. That is why people, paint paintings. That is why people make art, so that others can observe it and appreciate them. Allah created the universe like a masterpiece of art so that we can observe it and appreciate and recognize the creator. But as a result of this test, he promises that he will give us an eternal life. We will live for eternity. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not want to do this, he would not have given us this intellect. He would have created us like the rest of the animals, who has no idea about infinity, who has no idea about, life after death, any of these things. In fact, if you go to an art exhibition, walk in there, there are, let us say, paintings on the wall, such as, Leonardo da Vinci, the Mona Lisa painting, for example. You will never see an animal walk into that museum or the exhibition, look on the walls, and say, oh, this must be painted by Rembrandt, for example. You don't see a goat walking in there, a dog walking in there and looking at those pictures. You always see humans who understand these things walking there. Since the universe is a great exhibition of art, it was created for us to understand, so that we can observe it, so that we can say, Subhanallah, how beautifully designed is this? Who is the creator of this? So they were all made for us to understand and appreciate the creator. So deism doesn't make sense. And from this perspective, I think my personal view is the reason why people, choose the path of deism, so they can, get rid of their responsibilities. And just in case they're saying, yes, there is God, but, he doesn't intervene. So they don't need to pray anymore. They don't need to worship anymore. They don't need to follow certain rules anymore. They can live as the way they like. So they can be comfortable and do whatever they wish in their life. They took that religion component out, but they know there is the existence of God, and they didn't want to detach themselves from there as well. So they said, well, let's invent something like this. And it's quite problematic as well. Yes, I spoke about, almost 50 minutes now. I don't want to tire the students too much as well. I think I should stop there. If there are any questions, we can take. So it's up to you, brother.
Okay, so actually 10 until 10 o'clock, we have time. So friends, teachers, dear students, please, if you have any questions, please you can type, or you can ask permission, you can raise your hand and you can ask directly to to the Dr. Omer, or you can write in the type in the chat box. So while you are thinking and what is it, writing your question, so I have one question, if possible. So Dr. Omer, you yeah, thank you very much. Really, it's really interesting and amazing explanations I got from your explanations. And then, so you said that so our creator created us to observe and recognize about the creator, to know him. And then, so can it be, for example, you've given the example about Mona Lisa, for example. So there are so many people, even for example, among us, maybe most of us will not understand what is in that photo, for example, for that picture. When we look at, there are some people just looking, oh, nice, but there are specific things in that. There are some maybe mathematical equations, in that photo. When we deeply learn about that picture, but so many people say, oh, so why this picture costs that much money, because we don't know exactly. Most of us don't know, but there are some people, they understand, and then they know better, and they give the expensive cost for that picture. That's why, can this be, for example, Allah, okay, wanted us to recognize him, but some of us recognize well, or some of us don't understand well, and that's why some people become atheists, some people become deists, some people become this and that. And that's why, because of that be the first verse in Quran is read, and that might be read and understand. If you don't know, you understand. Can it be like that?
Definitely. I 100% agree. That is why Quran encourages us to learn. If we just, and there are many ways of learning. You know why people usually make mistakes in regards to science? I'll give you a very simple example. If you give someone, let us say, a book, the Quran, let us say, someone who's not a Muslim, right? But someone who's an expert scientist. And if you say to him, can you analyze this book, research, analyze it, and then give me like a report. And this person takes the book and starts investigating and comes back, let us say 2 or 3 weeks later, and he gives you a report. You open the report says, well, the book weighs about 500 grams, all right? Its paper is made up of this. Its ink is made up of this. The pages are, 200 GSM, for example, all right? And he gives you all these perfect specifics about the book. But he has missed out the most important thing, its contents, its meaning. What does it say in there? See, when we investigate the universe, we make the same mistake. Like you said, looking at the Mona Lisa. We make the same mistake. When we study the universe, we only look at the specifics, but we don't read it. We don't read the universe. We don't see the seal. We don't see the maker. That's where the problem is. And that's why the Quran says, read, study it, learn about it. And I think its perspective is very important, brother, like you said. The way we look and understand things in the universe is very important. Yes. I think there's one question from the students there.
So can you read?
Yeah.
Or do you want me to read it?
I can read it. It says, sir, may I ask about the question of the existence of human? How come we are descent from Adam and Hawa? Now we have some kind of different race, ethnic, skin color, and language. Yes, that's very easy because the Quran says it anyway. We have created you in different, races and languages so that you might interact with each other. There is a thing in the Quran. The world becomes a more colorful place. And this is much, much more beautiful for us. If everyone looked the same exactly, the world would not be a very fun place. However, how do we have this? And I can tell you that it's biologically already proven that this is possible. It is biologically proven that you can have different blood, types just by consuming different things. And you can have, different color skins, different color races. It's already been proven that even one parent or two parents, you can have all these different, races and ethnicities. It's possible. Biologically, it's possible. And having different languages is good for us as well. See, so we can communicate with each other in different ways and learn about each other's cultures. And this makes the world a more exciting place, isn't it? Imagine if Allah created us, not just in different races, not just in different, ethnics or language. What if He created everyone same height, same weight, same face, like the rest of the animal kingdom? That would be a very monotonous, awful world. Who would like to live in that? Yeah, it would be very boring. So He created us differently. And at the same time, He also displayed in this creation His wahdaniyya and His ahadiyya. What that means is, when He created all human beings with the same design, the eyes are at the same place, the eyebrows, the ears, the mouth, everything is exactly in the same place, but we all look different at the same time. So Allah is saying, look, I am one. All of these things were produced by me. I can put, for example, into your finger, everyone's different fingerprint. I can make all of your DNAs differently, but you will still be in the same shape. And this is quite unique. So He's displaying His magnificent art with this. And I think having these different people on earth, different ethnic groups, different languages is good for us. It is not a negative. And just to answer one more thing there is no such a thing as race, really. There is only one race, and that's the human race. See, our differences is only about a couple of millimeters in our skin. That's all. That is all. Otherwise, all humans are same. There is only one race. Yes. Semester says, so may I ask, are there verses in the Quran that have not been proven by science yet until now? Yes, maybe perhaps there are. There are. Because some of the verses that, according to their interpretations at the time, may not really reflect some of the scientific realities. Maybe we are yet to discover them in the future, because there are amazing things in there. Like you said, supernova, says the Quran already states that, but no scientist has proven it yet. Sorry, that iron is created. No, it is being proven. It is being proven. You can type it and have a look and ask Google. I'm just, Uncle Google. You can type in there and you can say where is iron produced, the element iron. You can ask. You will see that it's only produced in supernovas. So do we just believe solely what the Quran says, even if science hasn't proven it? Yes, but this is very important, because I can tell you that throughout history, if you look at the history of science, you will see that people have discovered certain things, but later on they changed them. They improved them. Sometimes they even, refuted them. They said this was wrong, and they brought new explanation to them. You know what that means? Science is variable, which means that it can change. Maybe what we know today will change in 100 years' time as well, some of the things. But has the Quran changed? Have we ever discovered something in the Quran that we can say, scientifically this is not correct? No. 1400 years, and we cannot disprove the Quran in any way, and the Quran makes this challenge as well. Whatever written in the Quran can be verified with science, but science changes. You know that, yeah? Like a few hundred years ago, they used to think that everything, in the galactic system goes around, orbits around the earth. We were at the center. Later on, we realized that this wasn't the case. We came up with new arguments. Yeah. So our theories, our understanding of science always changes. However, Quran doesn't change because Quran was sent for eternity. So Allah's word cannot be wrong. Even if sometimes, if you think that there may be a clash with science here, I can tell you that in the future, you will see that our understanding was wrong and the Quran was right. I can guarantee you that. Yes. Another thing, and I want to ask Ergi regarding the other students, so how to make the other students which have different in belief can get benefits or messages from today's seminar. I don't know. Your teacher will tell you that.
Yeah. Dr. Omer, so this is because of our schools are diverse. We have different students from different religion, and then but their religion classes, for example, they have their different religious teachers, and that's why. So diversity about being in friendship in religion, or from the Quran's perspective, what can you say? Because as we know, you've been organizing some activities with faith among other religions, and then you are organizing some dialogue organizations or programs, and then so could you please explain something from Quran's perspective, so how we can
inshallah
live in friendly, with different religion, and what can we learn from
harmony?
each other?
Yes, that's very important. I will first type in the box a YouTube channel that I have. We provide answers to different questions like this. If students like, they can subscribe and follow. But I made it a direct message. Just a second. I'll send it to everyone. Everyone in meeting. There we are. So if anyone wants to follow, it's in English, and maybe some topics they may like. And if they subscribe, we'll be happy as well. But in regards to other students who have different beliefs, as long as, look, the main thing here is when we say Islam, I think this is very important. When we say Islam, if you look at the meaning of Islam, Islam means to submit, or to rely on God, or to surrender to God. So technically, any person, whether they are Muslim, Christian, or other faith, if they are submitting to God, to one creator, they are actually, from our perspective, they are Muslims, submitters. That's what it really means. So we may have different religions, we may have different beliefs, but the commonality here between us, we know that, one creator have created all of us. So in a way, that makes us all brothers and sisters, all of us. It doesn't matter what we believe in. So we can say that we should establish that relationship with other students, with our friends, or people in our environment, from the perspective that first, we are all humans. We come from the same ancestors, and with our beliefs, whether it's Islam or other religion, with our beliefs, we are all, connecting through one creator. I think this is very important. And Islam, and in Islam, it's very important to respect the beliefs of others as well. And we know this from the Prophet's history. We know that when the Prophet was in Medina, people from the Jews, people from other tribes, people from Najran Christians, for example, they came and spoke with him. And the noble Prophet, you're going to find this very interesting, with the Christians, that they said, look, in Medina, we don't have a church. We need to pray. We have nowhere to pray. Can you give us some place to pray? It's in Prophet's history. You know what the noble Prophet said? Use the masjid, our mosque. Christians actually, Najran Christians, they actually went into the mosque of the Prophet and they performed their own prayers, Christian prayers, in our mosque. So this is our understanding, you know. We should unite in regards to these things because all of us carry in our hearts the belief in one God. That is the main thing. I may call, you know, him Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Maybe people of other religions may use another name for God, for the creator. But at the end of the day, we are all referring to the same creator. So this is very important. And that should unite us. That shouldn't separate us. That should unite us, inshallah. Yes. And maybe one last one, if you like, brother, because we passed thing. It's 10:05 over there, yeah, is it? So I'll take this last question, if you like, last, and then maybe we can conclude. Sir, may I ask, we knew that there is a lot of primordial man that has found by many sciences, but our religion says a long time ago there is Adam, and we know that primordial man doesn't have a perfect mind like people nowadays. Meanwhile, Al-Quran said that Prophet is the perfect human. How do we know which statement makes sense? Now, of course, this involves the theory of evolution. It is completely a different topic. In fact, I have written books on evolution as well. As brother mentioned, there's one of the books that I have is, natural selection, fact or fiction. There are a number of books, and I'm quite well versed in the theory of evolution. First of all, I can tell you this. The theory of evolution from a scientific perspective, as you know, it's still a theory. That's why they don't call it law of evolution, yeah. But when you study physics, you have, laws of physics because they have been verified, tested. No one argues against, for example, Newton's law of motion, P equals mv, for example. No one argues against that. But when it comes to the theory of evolution, there are scientists in the world who are against it. There are scientists who champion it, support it, which means that there's a debate there. They don't all agree, which means that there is no perfect verification. And in regards to this primordial man, all these skeletons they dig, we don't even know what they are. But some scientists come up and they say, look, this is the ancestor of man. It's some type of an ape that later on evolved into man. But I'll tell you something very interesting. Maybe that may be enough because this needs a whole topic to explain. But a very simple example, all right? If you dig a grave somewhere, only 100 years old, forget about, 5 million, 6 million, that's what the evolution talk about, yeah? 6 million year old fossil, they say. This is only 100-year-old, okay? And you take out 2 bodies, all right, from this grave. Not much left, but there's still bones or something there. Do you know that if these 2 bodies you take out, remains, they are father and son, for example. Do you know that you can take them into your lab and do a test and you cannot establish that if they were father and son? Scientifically, we can't know. Just 100-year-old bones. We don't know if one of them is the father of the other one. Now, we cannot even establish this. How can we establish that the father, ancestor of man, came 5 million years ago? What I'm trying to say that from a scientific perspective, all of these things are based on speculation, assumption. They look at 2 structures, they say, oh, this one resembles a man a bit. Maybe man came from this one. So it is all based on assumptions. 2 assumptions, one skeletal structure, the other one is genetic material. They say we're very close. Like they say chimpanzee is genetic material is 98% similar to humans. But do you know that Allah created people like that, or living beings? Do you know that bananas have 50% similarity to us? Banana. Can we say we come from the banana because of that? Rats, mouse has 92% similarity to us. See, all of these similarities needs to exist anyway, because if we were not created in the same way, we cannot eat the fruits of the trees because our DNA structures won't match. We cannot eat the meat of the animals. We cannot drink the milk. We cannot survive. That is why Allah created us in similar structures. See, resemblance between creatures does not indicate to evolution. It indicates to one creator, same designer. That's what it actually proves. It comes from the same designer. But it's a long topic, see? That is why maybe one day in the future, we reserve just 1 hour for this, maybe. And we can do, I think, a seminar on, inshallah, evolution. Yeah. And just a reminder as well, we are not denying evolution altogether either, because there are some components in there which are actually science, such as, natural selection, adaptation, mutations. They all exist in science. What we are not accepting based on scientific grounds is one species evolving into a different species. This cannot be proven. There is no such a thing. It's called interspecies evolution. A dog doesn't become cat. A reptile doesn't become a bird. We don't accept that because it cannot be proven scientifically. But we do accept natural selection. We do accept survival of this, for example. We do accept, variations in the gene pool. We do accept mutations. There are different things because they can be tested. Yes. Okay. Jazakallah khair. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, brother, for the invitation. And thank you to all the students, who showed patience and listened.
Thank you very much, Dr. Omer, for your great explanation. And you have mentioned about, so actually you widen our understanding about our creator and about the creation. And that's really amazing. And so in the end of our seminar, in here, our participants are mostly from 10 till 12 grades students here from different parts of Indonesia. And yeah, so if you have any suggestions to our students, please give some suggestions to our students in living in peace and diversity or dialogue.
Well, thank you. Well, I'll say to everyone here, all the students here that, Allah created or God created, whatever you believe in, He created us for this purpose, so that we can establish peace on earth. This is the true humanity. We are not like animals. Even animals can live in peace too, but humans are unique. We have all this intellect. Allah has blessed us with this soul, this compassion, this mercy, and it's all for the purpose so that we can love each other and live in peace with each other, respect each other. If I respect someone's view, they will respect my view. If I say to them, you're wrong, they will say, I am wrong. So in order to have that closeness with each other and get along with each other and establish peace on earth as well, we need to start with ourselves. We need to start within our class. And like a wave, it will go all the way to the world as well. Inshallah, we can establish this, all of us, working together and learn to love each other. This is very important. This is the purpose of our creation anyway. Yes, Jazakallah khair. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so this is a great today's great suggestion about learn to love each other. So this will be maybe our today's motto. Yeah, we will use it in our Osis camp. So after this, our camp is continuing. So thank you very much for your time. and I think it's not. It's
Right,
evening
yeah.
there. Yeah. Okay.
No,
And
it's 2 o'clock, 15 past 2. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Look after yourselves and all the students too. Thank you for your patience. Nice to meet you all.
Okay. Nice to meet you.
Take care.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank